Hey, so I've had a couple of questions from people asking about what it was like to travel back to Australia and just give some feedback. In particular, someone at work was asking about international travel, and I just thought rather than write an email, I would shoot a quick video across. So just wanted to share what we went through, I guess, for anyone else out there that's interested, particularly Australians that might be stranded overseas and trying to get back. We originally booked a flight pretty early on, and we knew that the case was going to be a little bit tricky getting back. And we'd heard about people needing to book business class flights, so we did that pretty early on, and we're pretty lucky because the cost of our business class flights were a lot cheaper than what a lot of people are having to pay now. Australia has a cap on the number of people that can come into the country, so they are stopping basically anyone who isn't business class to fly in. Um, our original flight was due to leave, I think August 23. So we'd obviously packed up our house and was ready to go. And then this whole Melbourne quarantine hotel situation went down. For those people that don't know, the Victorian government had a mass outbreak with in the hotel quarantine system where they employed private contractors, didn't follow the basically health and safety protocols. I don't even think they were trained, and naturally the virus got out. And then after that, most of the state went to lockdown. As a result of the state going into lockdown, Victoria stopped allowing people into the country, into the state to fly in, which meant our flights kept getting put back. The latest we heard was that when we were over in and around sort of near where we were taking off, it was supposed to go August 25. We got told there'll be no flights until October into Melbourne. And so we decided to change our flights. We were flying with Qatar, which they had a policy which would enable us to change the flights at no cost, which was great because the cost of the flight was about another $15,000 or something ridiculous. So we were very lucky. We changed it to Sydney to leave on August 25. Still a little tricky. Like we got to the airport and effectively it seemed as though we were on standby. They looked like they rang someone to check that we're there with a family of four, we're all flying business. But I heard the person say, "I just put them on standby, call up and find out whether or not I guess that we are going to make the cap." Our flight was from Boston to Qatar, Doha, and there was probably about 25 people on the flight, which was pretty amazing. Like we had pretty much all of business class to ourselves. Don't think that's ever going to happen again in my lifetime. Kids thought it was Christmas. Better than Christmas, actually. I hate to break it to them next time they go to fly. And then when we were at the airport, there was no one in the airport. We were in the international, or we're in the first class lounge. We had dinner. It was amazing shower. People looked after us so much. The people in Qatar was so good. Taking photos of the kids and things like that. Social distancing was excellent. We didn't have to. So just on that, we didn't have to wear our masks on the plane. Theoretically, like once we were in sort of the cabins, they have Q suites, which was amazing. So we were able to take our masks off for most of the time. If you get up and go to the bathroom, you just put it back on again. The flight from Doha to Sydney was absolutely like full in business class, and then no one in any other section of the plane. So the crew sort of seemed a little bit kind of stretched, actually, if I'm being honest. You can naturally say the service was way better on the first section than it was on the second section because they was like five staff to one person versus what we have on the next flight, but still amazing. Um, Got into Sydney like a bit of delay, kind of. There's only sort of 200 or 300 people allowed to go into the country or into the state at a time. So we basically went straight in to be screened, to talk to nurses, to have our temperature checked, and sort of processed that way. Once we processed all that, we went to the customs desk as normal, sort of straight through there, picked up our bags, and then everything's naturally closed in the airport. There's no one around. And then we were kind of ushered out to buses, and they had, the big coaches waiting outside. There was the Australian Defence Force as well as the police. At that point, like my daughter sort of freaked out a little bit because she's 7 years old or 5 years old, and sorry, she's seven. Get it right. And she hasn't been back to Australia for ages, so she doesn't know what the country's like. And we came out, and I explained to her that these people are here to help. Not all of the staff, which really shocked me, were wearing masks. A lot of them weren't. Like a lot of the medical were, and some of the police were, but the Defence Force definitely weren't, which I thought was a bit unusual. But we were naturally wearing masks. I dropped my bags at one point. I just had so much luggage. They came all running over to helped us put all the bags on the bus. Everyone was really courteous, really kind. They put us on a bus with all of the families, and then there was another bus for other people. Really well handled and pretty well respected. There was only like 5 families on our bus. We were sort of there processing for a little while. There was this drunk guy standing there kind of yelling abuse at the police, saying that he doesn't need to be tested and doesn't need to go into quarantine because he tested negative. And it just made me think, sometimes it makes you wonder about people and what they think, particularly by the amount that this guy had drunk. Found it absolutely amazing and pretty patient of the police and the Defence Force, actually, to be honest, to put up with people like this. Then we had no idea where we were going. We weren't told really where we were going. They said we're going to go to a hotel. They came and did a couple of checks. They said, look, it's going to be fine. We got to the hotel. We kind of one by one families got called into the front desk. Basically a pretty normal sort of hotel setup, except they had plastic glass there in front of you. They processed you, put you to a room. Then you moved on to like the police section, filled in all your details, your passport information. That took 15 or 20 minutes, but it was pretty cool. Like they took the kids and my wife up to the room. It was a nice 2-bedroom Meriton suite apartment, which was pretty good. Had a kitchenette, which was all we were really after. Small balcony. So we're pretty happy, to be honest. The Defence Force were amazing. They helped us with our bags. They made everything feel really easy. And that was that. They sort of explained what was going to happen. We went into our room. And that was it. Left to our own device for a while. They delivered breakfast for the next day to us because it was sort of midnight, which was really good. So at least we had food if we needed it that night. And sort of explained, we had a package there that explained that we could get food delivered whenever, a couple of deliveries a day, and sort of limits on alcohol and things like that. They only allow like 1 bottle of wine a day per person, which is, it's fine. They don't allow any spirits, which is a bit unusual. Then you can get care packages and stuff like that. So, there are things that you can get delivered. That's basically, we're pretty lucky. The internet worked okay. Sort of managed to order a Telstra SIM card and have that delivered. And life was seemingly normal, except you couldn't leave. The security guards would basically knock on the door to leave food and then disappear. And then you would leave the rubbish out for people to collect, or trash for those that are in America. What else? They came around to do testing on day 2 or day 3, which is, for anyone that's had the COVID test, it's not the most pleasant thing to have, and that shouldn't discourage anyone from actually doing it because it's really important. It's not that bad, but naturally made the kids nearly throw up, and it's a little unpleasant when something's put down your throat and then up the nose. The staff weren't the friendliest, but when we had the next test done on the 10th day, or second last day or something like that, we're in there for 14 days. So I think we had the test done on the 10th day, and then once we were all clear, we were able to leave. The person that did that test was much more, had much more empathy, and it was much nicer. Probably the hardest thing of all of it was actually hearing a baby crying over the corridor, which obviously means they were sort of testing the baby too, which I found a little confronting. But these are the things we have to do to remain safe. And then that was it. Like on the 14th day, we were given wristbands and then told at a particular time between 4 and 6 p.m. we're allowed to leave. And we left, came down, they helped us with our bags again. Police at the desk processed us, and we're free to go. And it was all really surreal. It was a little bit weird, and we're a bit shell-shocked, and we're sort of looking around, and my daughter stood there stuck against the wall, like, what are we really doing? And then we just enjoyed our freedom and got out. So all in all, it was an interesting experience. It was very difficult mentally to be locked up somewhere, even though you sort of had a little bit of space to get a balcony. I'm someone that kind of really needs the sun. I didn't get a lot of it. But other than that, in terms of the government sort of processing us and everything, it was pretty good. It's something I don't really want to do again. So I know I probably won't be going overseas for a little while. but yeah, pretty happy with everything. And then eventually we basically drove back down to Victoria. Melbourne's in lockdown. You can't go more than 5 kilometers, but we didn't see any police. We drove all the way back to back to our house, which is a new place that we moved into, and haven't had any issues. So that's my account, I guess, of being back. I'm not loving the e-commerce here where you order something and it takes about 6 days to get it. So like, for instance, I'm trying to hook up a Nintendo Switch to an older monitor and I can't get the cable connections for like 3 or 4 days. So it's hard telling a 7-year-old that she's got to wait 4 days when she's used to getting something in about 20 minutes. But I guess you just got to be patient. It's great to be back here, have coffee, and just thought I'd sort of share the account of getting back. It's not easy for those coming back to Australia, I know. Hopefully they're going to lift the caps soon. And for anyone who's sort of not an Australian citizen, I don't think you can come back. So I would obviously delay, and once you're here, you can't leave either. So prison island, but it's a nice place to be stuck. So yeah, I thought I'd share this little account of our journey back from the US. A little stressful, but super nice to be home now and feel the weight of the world lifted.